The writing is on the wall in big red letters. The diaspora is not a safe place for Jews. I'm currently here in Jerusalem, and my country is at war. But I find myself worrying more for my Jewish brothers and sisters outside of these borders.
Antisemitism in Europe increased by 1,200%.
It's the beginning of the end of Jewish life in Western Europe.
All over the world, hatred towards Jews is no longer festering quietly on the fringes of society in chat rooms and online forums. It is loudly and proudly parading through the streets in every major city in the world across every continent. Hundreds of thousands of people are taking to the streets to protest the Jewish state. Social media is flooded with support for Palestinians, with a roar that is drowning out any recognition of the pain and suffering of the Jewish people. This much is apparent to every Jew who is connected to their identity and to their homeland. In this moment, we are all asking ourselves the same questions. How could this happen? And what do we do about it now? As a Jew living far away from the discomfort of exile, I feel a responsibility to speak frankly to my fellow brothers and sisters abroad about the situation that is unfolding across the world. This outpouring of support for Palestinians, accompanied by hatred of Israel and attacks against Jews, has shaken up many Jews in the diaspora. But I honestly can't say I'm surprised at what we've seen. Most of our pleas to be heard and our desperate efforts to be understood seem to be in vain. I've seen many Jews take to social media to express their distress. I've seen many people echoing the sentiment that the Holocaust did not happen in a vacuum, passionately insisting that there were warning signs that preempted the violence we faced. This is true, and it's clear we have not learned the painful lessons of Jewish history. I'm not going to sit here and list the numerous massacres, genocides, and ethnic cleansings that we have experienced since the destruction of our temple. No matter how comfortable our situation in exile, eventually it is eroded by the tide of time. Before the Holocaust, German Jews felt just as much a part of Germany as American Jews feel a part of America today. This pattern stretches back all the way to our days in Egypt under Pharaoh's rule, where 80% of the Jewish slaves decided to stay in Egypt instead of embracing a journey of liberation in the desert. Time and time again, the world proves to us that we have no permanent home in exile, and yet we keep failing to internalize the message. The war in Israel has just begun, and it does not seem like we are nearing the end anytime soon. We already know the kind of consequences that are in store for Jews living abroad once this war is concluded. After the skirmish with Gaza in 2020, hatred towards Jews became loud. In 2023, it is getting progressively louder, with no indication of just how loud the volume may become. In the face of all of this, what are we supposed to do? We can encourage the route of trying to fight anti-Semitism online as best as possible, ignoring the reality that Jews tend to speak in echo chambers to other Jews who are already aware of the problem. We may increase security and police presence for ourselves and put political and financial pressure on politicians and institutions, a move which might grant us temporary shelter from the rising tide of hate, but will probably be perceived by other groups as further confirmation for their belief that Jews wield too much power and have too much privilege. We can learn self-defense and arm ourselves, which at this point should be a given. But none of these options will solve the larger problem. The anti-Jewish attitude, which dominates institutions of higher education, will not stay confined to those spaces. In Germany, the anti-Semitism that preempted the Holocaust first spread through universities, but students quickly graduate and become the politicians, lawyers, and professionals that run society. We must realize that if we fail to see the warning signs of Jew hatred in the early stages, we are doomed to once again be subjected to violence. We tell ourselves that it's not so bad, that there are no gas chambers being built, but if we wait until there's an active push for violence or genocide, it will already be too late. The clock is ticking. The time has come for the Jewish people to realize that our collective future resides in the land of Israel. The longer you stay in diaspora, the harder it is to leave. The businesses and relationships we build abroad become an anchor which tethers us to a sinking ship. There are countless reasons to want to live in Israel, most of which are beautiful, inspiring, and deeply meaningful. But at this moment, we cannot afford to dismiss the reality that it is no longer physically safe to live elsewhere. We can try with all our might to fight against Jew hatred, gambling on the safety of those we love, or we can shift our energy to ensuring our safety, along with self-actualizing our need for liberation in our homeland. This is perhaps the most exciting chapter of history to be a Jew, where we no longer need to languish in the darkness amongst hostile nations, but have the opportunity to bask in the light of Jewish peoplehood in the land of our forefathers. While the future for Jews in exile may look bleak, there is immense comfort in reaffirming for ourselves that our real place in this world is in the land of Israel, the only place where our light can shine brightly enough to illuminate the entire world. My Jewish brothers and sisters, my heart is with you during this time. Us Jews in Israel are awaiting your return with open arms, ready to embrace you and welcome you home.